I don't think grief is talked about enough.
No.
And again, it's something we all experience. And I think avoiding the topic of talking about it is what makes grief so hard. It comes and it's going to slap you in the face. But if we keep having open conversations, if we let people cry on your shoulders, if you are opening to listen to people, you should do that. If you know someone who is grieving, you're going through something, losing a mom, a parent, a pet, it doesn't matter, losing a job, losing the life they thought they were going to have, talk to them about it, ask them about them. If you had a friend whose parent died when they were 5 years old, go and ask them about their mom or dad today. Because all we want to do is talk about our loved ones. Grief is just love that has nowhere to go. And, we just want to keep talking about that love. We don't want that love to die.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to 2 Decades Deep Podcast. My name is Taylor Howard, and I'm your host, and I'm so happy that you're here. Whether you're tuning in on Spotify, YouTube, or Apple Podcasts, I'm glad that you're tuning in a podcast form that's best for you. Today, we're going to be talking about grief, and this actually is very near and dear to my heart. We're going to be talking about my late cousin, Erica, and we have my little cousin, Kamryn, her daughter, on the show today. This episode is not to expedite anybody's healing or tell you the right way to grieve or how to grieve, but this is more so to just hold space for people who have lost loved ones. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my little cousin, Kamryn. Cam, I'm so happy that you're on the podcast. Before we go into the nitty gritty, I just want to share it with our listeners. I've told this story 900 times. I'm going to say it again. I wanted to move to DC. I wanted to find something different. And I remember, this is when we weren't even that close yet.
Oh.
And I texted you.
Didn't know the girl.
Okay. All right.
I'm joking.
But I texted you and I was like, dang, I really, really, really want to move out here. And then I remember you encouraged me to reach out to your parents. And so I texted your mom and I was like, oh my God, I really want to start over. I had this whole thesis.
Her life story.
My life story about why I wanted to move in with you all. And the way she literally was just like, yeah.
Sure. It was just okay.
It was a no-brainer. They didn't let me pay rent. They actually refused that I paid rent. And I stayed here for 2 years. And when I say that, she became a second mother to me. It was absolutely insane. And so I'm glad that I was able to have that time with her. And then we also got super close.
Super duper close. It's my sister, y'all, for real.
Period. For real. Shout out to my sister Ryan. Us three are just super close.
Locked in.
I'm so happy that we were able to do that. But I want to start the conversation off just telling me a little bit about your mom and who she was and how you experienced her.
Okay, so Erica Pearson, she was born June 6, 1969 in New York City. She was a very, very wonderful woman. She went to law school and eventually became a judge in DC. She was actually the chief judge at the time of her passing, the chief judge of the Office of Human Rights. So that on its own says a lot about who she was. She was just the most caring person ever. It's just she put everybody before herself. And that's how she was as a mother for me. She always put me and my needs first. She just always wanted the best for me, no matter what that was, no matter what that path looked like. She wanted to see me happy. Even if it was something that she would have never supported, if it was something I was interested in, she would support it. That's just who she was through and through. She was the best mom in the world. Seriously.
She really was. I remember when I moved here and I was in this terrible relationship. And she was looking at me like, girl. But because she wanted me to be happy, she literally just accepted who I was. There was times where I didn't have money, where I got my car towed. Just being an adult, she just will welcome you with open arms.
Open arms.
And yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's something all my friends, anybody who's ever met her can say about her. It's just she was just such a sweet and caring soul. It didn't matter. Anybody that I introduced herself to, no matter boy, girl, whatever, come to the house. When my friends were having issues with their parents or their relationships, my mom was always a listening ear. She would let my friends stay here for weeks at a time. Just a caring individual, just a great person.
Such a great person.
Yeah.
And I think you articulated a good culmination of who she was and not even just being a judge, being a mother, being a wife, being a dance mom, the hats that she wore and me being able to see that even when she was sick, I was in awe. And I hope that like one day when I'm a mom and when I'm in my
Mhm.
career in the future, I'm in my career, but you know what I mean? I want to be just like her.
Yeah, she was really Miss Do It All. Like
She
literally, my girl could never sit down. Even in her last couple of days of life, she did not want to sit down. Like you could not stop her. And again, she wore every hat possible. She just if it is she just did everything she could. Seriously, if she thinks she could do it, she could do it, and she would do it very well.
and exceed like beyond
Literally
measure.
beyond.
Yeah. I think it's important. We talked about like who she was, but I think it's really good to note. Let's start from her diagnosis. So I know that she was diagnosed initially in 2018. Can you just
Yes.
like walk me through that experience, how she
Yeah.
told you and your family?
So when my mom got diagnosed with cancer, she had already been feeling sick for a little while. She was having a lot of digestive issues, a lot of stomach issues, couldn't use the bathroom well. It was just like, something's not right, but we couldn't place what wasn't right. And then her and my dad went on vacation. They went to Bali for, I think, about 2 weeks. And she was miserable the whole vacation. It was really hard for her to enjoy it because she felt so sick. And my dad was really worried. He's like, I don't know, like something isn't right about this. And we called the family doctor and was like, she needs an appointment as soon as we get back. She got back, they ran some scans, they saw a mass in her intestines. And they gave her a biopsy. She had to get a colonoscopy and everything. They sent it back and she had stage 3 colon cancer at the time. And this was, I want to say it was July, like end of July when she got diagnosed. And I remember it was 2 nights before I had to go to my dance intensive at my dance studio. And I remember her just like sitting me down and she was like, we have to talk. And I was like, oh, yeah, like, what's up? I'm ready. I'm ready. And she's like, things are going to be changing. I'm sick. And I'm like, sick? What do you mean? Like, are you okay? And she's like, I'm not okay. I have stage 3 colon cancer. And like, that was just insane for me. That was just something you never think it's going to be you or your family. It's like, that was never even anything that crossed my mind. And, when you hear cancer, especially at the age I was at, I was 14. I think I was still 13 or 14. You hear cancer, you hear death sentence. And I'm just like, whoa, like, are you telling me you're gonna die? Especially hearing stage 3, it's like, whoa, that's pretty advanced. And I remember we just cried. We sat there and cried together. And she was like, I want you to go stay at your friend's house tonight. I want you to, get ready for the dance intensive. Don't worry about me. I'm gonna be okay. And she had surgery the next week. They did not play, okay? My dad does not play about my mom. And my father's a doctor. He used his connections to the fullest for my mother, got her into she got the tumor removed and had a part of her intestines resected. And most people, you have to wait a while, or just it takes time. It took no time for my dad to get everything in place. She was in the hospital a week later. Surgery was done. Started chemotherapy maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks after that, and it was just on go from there. And it was really, really hard. Especially I was just starting high school. Like it was literally a month before I started high school, and I was just nervous that, man, like, is she gonna be able to complete chemotherapy? Is she gonna be able to see me graduate? What's next? What does this look like for us? This was just, my world came crashing down so fast. So I guess that's a little bit of where it came from, the start of it.
Yeah, and we'll go in a little bit more about like how you were able to cope with it, if you were even able to cope
Mm-hmm.
with it. And I experienced a bit of that with you when I moved out here, but we know that she actually beat cancer.
Yes. So she did complete chemotherapy and she was getting, 6 month scans, 3 month scans, and the cancer was completely gone. There weren't any mets. They were like, cancer, you're cancer free. And we were really excited for her, but my mom always in the back of her head just had a strong feeling, I don't think this is done. She was in a lot of Facebook groups, especially the most notable one being Colon Town. It's a Facebook group for people that have colon cancer and just a safe space for them. And a lot of people that she knew in Colon Town, with stage 3 cancer, it came back and it came back fighting. So she never really felt that she could celebrate being cancer free because deep down she knew, I don't think it's over yet.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 2020 or 2021, I can't remember. But it was in the midst of COVID, and she got one of her scans. I believe it was a 6 month scan, and it was back. And she had, mets in her body, and they were like, we're gonna have to, do this again. They were like, we're gonna have to go full throttle. And she started chemotherapy again. And again, my mom was a fighter. From the day she found out she was diagnosed, she's talking in Colon Town every day. She's researching everything she can to extend her life as much as possible, because when it did come back, it was stage 4 cancer, and that means it's terminal. So she knew, okay, I'm not going to be able to live my life as long as I can, but what can I do to extend it as far as possible? That was always her thing. It's like, I want to be able to live as long as I can fight, and that's what she did. Like, she was on it. She did so many different types of chemotherapy and so many different types of treatment. She was at John Hopkins Hospital, once a week, sometimes twice, sometimes more, just to keep living her life, just to live as long as she could.
Yeah. I remember the day I moved in, that was what, March of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
She texted me and told me that she had stage 4 metastatic colon cancer. And she told me, like, but this is not a reason for you to feel sorry for me. She's like, I just want to make you aware. And she told me, like, to make sure that I watched out for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, that's something that I really want. Like, she always had you all in mind. And like, something also to share is like, that didn't stop her from traveling. When she was at John Hopkins, she had her laptop and her cases.
In her cases.
And like, she just kept going. And I think that, we talked a lot about her and how she navigated cancer, but I want to talk a little bit about you,
Mm-hmm.
because the reality is you still are young, but you were young. You were navigating your own transitions as well, especially when the cancer came back. You were a senior in high
Mm-hmm.
school. Can you tell me a little bit about how you were navigating your mom's cancer?
Yeah. So I'll go back to when she first got diagnosed.
Mm-hmm.
So freshman year of high school, when she got diagnosed, like I said, my world shattered. It was a lot, but I think I had the excitement of being in high school and it starting new to kind of distract me. And I did have a class in high school called Gateway Seminar, and it was like a freshman class. And honestly, it was a therapy class, basically. And in that class, I felt comfortable to enough to express what I was going on with my mom. And that class became a good safe space for me my freshman year. And it helped me through it a lot, just being able to have people to talk to about it. And sophomore year, junior year was the same kind of thing. Like, it's hard, but I'm okay. I'm seeing that she's okay. Okay, sophomore year, she's cancer free. Everything's good. It's COVID. I'm in the house with you every day. Like, everything was really, really good. But then she said it came back and it's stage 4. That was so scary to hear. It's just like, because I was so happy that she beat it. It's like, gosh, like stage 4. That means my mom's gonna die. Like, eventually, realistically. Um, Honestly, for me, COVID was kind of a blur. I don't really remember much, but I think my senior year was when it really got hard for me. And that was when Taylor had first moved into the house with me and everything. And I mean, I was just crashing out, honestly. I couldn't even put into words what was wrong with me. I feel like I didn't know a lot of the issues I was having was stemming from my mom. But at that point, I feel like my mom was trying to protect me more than tell me what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kept on finding out things from my dad, or like, mom's telling me she's okay, but dad's telling me something else. And it was really confusing for me. But I know it was because she wanted to protect me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so she was trying to protect me so much, and it made everything so confusing for me. And I know that wasn't her goal, but I wanted to know if she was okay. And if I'm hearing you're getting worse from one side, but you're telling me you're doing okay, I don't know how to support you. And that's all I really wanted to do. I wanted to support my mom. And it got to a point, I was starting to see how chemo was affecting her. I'm seeing her, not have as much energy anymore. At that point, she was starting to use a cane and, just little things where it's like, oh, she is declining. And that's a lot to see and go through. And I would be coming to school in the morning and I would just cry and cry. And I got really close with my advisor in high school. because no one really knew, honestly, other than that class my freshman year. No one knew what my mom was going through, what I was going through. And one day I remember just bawling my eyes out. My best friend Jasmine, she just took me to Miss Keller, my advisor's office. Miss Keller is like, whoa, what is wrong with you? Like, seriously, I've been skipping class. I just been out of it. And I just remember sitting in her office the whole day, literally bawling my eyes out and just telling her everything I had going on, because it was so hard to deal with. And it was like, when I finally opened up about it and you're telling someone else, you realize how intense your situation is. Like, I feel like it was really easy for me to, this is just something I go through. This is just what it is. But most people don't go through this. No one goes through this, honestly. At my age, at 17 years old, no one else's parents were dying but mine. And it's hard to talk to your friends about that, because now your friends feel bad for you, or you want to tell your friends, but now your friends are crying. And it's like, they don't mean it, because it's just a rough topic, but it was isolating for me. Mm-hmm. It was so isolating. I had nobody to talk to. And I would say that led into college for me. Again, I moved into college at North Carolina A&T in fall 2022. And I think, again, I went through the same thing I went through my freshman year of high school, where I have the distraction of being in this new state, being in college, and I'm super excited to be here. So I was completely distracted and having the best time of my life my freshman year. But my sophomore year came around and my mom was really starting to get sick. That was when it was like, okay, like at this point, I think she maybe had 2 or 3 more surgeries to slow things down. They're saying, she has mets in her lungs, and, I'm seeing her lose weight a little more. I'm seeing her, lose herself a little bit. And my sophomore year, I lost that excitement of school. And all I could think about was my mom all the time. I was so depressed my sophomore year. And again, I didn't necessarily think to tie it back to my mom. I just thought, oh, it's a sophomore slump. It's just a hard year. But I was dealing with so much grief every single day. It's so hard to live with the fact that, wow, my mom is going to die and it may be soon. Mm-hmm. And you're seeing your mother die. That's an indescribable feeling, honestly. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I found support through that as well. But yeah, it was really, really hard. And I don't think people talk about, experiencing grief before people die. People always talk about how hard it is to lose someone and how hard it is after. How do you continue living without them? But how do you live while someone you love can't live anymore? How do you live while they're dying? It's hard to be happy when the person who brought you into this world, she doesn't feel good. She can't be as happy for your accomplishments as you want. She can't be the loving mom she always was. Not saying she wasn't loving, she was as much as she could be. But, when I was coming home for breaks from school, I'm really excited to talk to my mom. Mom, I missed you. But, she sleep on the couch because she's so sick from her medicine and she can't talk to me anymore. She's so tired. And that was hard. It's like, man, I am losing my friend. My mom was my friend more than anything. Everybody knows my mom was my best friend. Mm-hmm. So that was hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember, like, it is hard to see because, I moved in here in 2022 and then 2024, like, just seeing, like, the slow changes because I moved out. And so when I would come back and stuff like that, like, I remember Thanksgiving, I even started noticing little things. But, like, when I say that, like, your mom literally gave it all she had, like, she still cooked. She still talked to us all night. Like,
all night.
She would text me and be like, are you dating yet? Like, girl, please date.
Hey, girl.
She was getting concerned. Like, it's just like, yes, you would see, like, the decline and you would see that, like, maybe she wasn't as enthusiastic as she used to be. But, like, literally, even, like, up until a week, I think I came over, like, a week before she passed. And I forgot what we were talking about, but, like, she just was in such, like, good spirits. And, like, she always wanted to protect, I think, our emotions more than anything. And so, I want to go into a little bit because, your mom was a protector for everybody. She always made sure that everybody was straight. When did you start to take on that? Like, I want to protect you. I want to be there for you. Like, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I would probably say when she got re-diagnosed with cancer that second time, because you think about yourself a lot when someone you love is dying, but I had to take a step back and realize, she's dying, like she's going through a lot on her own. Like, and that was really hard to balance too. Like how to take myself out of the equation and be there for her. Because if it was hard for me, imagine how hard it was for her. It's like you're the one dying. You're the one who isn't going to be able to continue life. You're the one who knows what's going on the most with yourself. So I think for me, it finally came to a point where it's like, let me put my pride, not put my pride aside, but, let me step out of this bubble real quick. Let me try to be here as much as I can for her because she's been here for me my whole life. And it just became a thing of little things, kind of just becoming her servant a little bit, but like not in a bad way. It's just like, I want to make life as easy as I can for you in whatever ways that is for you. It's like, if you want to sit on the couch all day, okay, that's okay. I'll get you your tea. I'll get you water. You need coffee. You need me to run to the store. You need me to get your medication. I'll do whatever you need me to do so you can relax and rest as much as you need. And I feel like I kept that up, the whole rest of the time. By the time the last couple months of her life, she was in and out of Johns Hopkins for, I would say 3 or 4 days a week. And Johns Hopkins is it's an hour away from the house. It's a pretty far drive. You got to drive through Baltimore traffic. And again, I'm coming home from college and I'm only home for 3 days. And I was spending my 3 days taking her back and forth to the hospital, sitting in the hospital with her and being there for her as much as I could because that's what she needed. It wasn't a chore. It was just like, I'm obligated to do this for you. I want to do this for you. I want to be here as much as possible because at some points, my mom, this describes my mom. Again, Johns Hopkins is so far away. She's going to chemotherapy out there. My mom was taking the train to chemotherapy by herself and getting stuck on trains for 2 hours every single day. And it was like, girl, we can't keep doing this. Girl, you're crazy. And like, she refused to sit down. My dad would be like, I will take off work to take you. Let me take you. And she's like, no, I'm gonna take the train. I'll see you later. And it was actually ridiculous. Like it was very unnecessary. And it was like, okay, we really need to step in. We have to force ourselves to help you because my mom did not want help. She, like I said, she wanted to push till the end. But, it wasn't feasible anymore. It's like, girl, you cannot be walking around your little cane and fragile on this train by yourself. And she would be coming back from chemo, getting confused which train to go on, ending up in New York City, you're in Jersey. I was like, girl, please, we are not doing this anymore.
That is the epitome of who your mom was. She was such a pillar of strength and like she was really independent and really just wanted to make sure like you are okay. With your level of comfortability, I do want to just address like we know that your mother passed July 17th of 2024. Can you just talk a little bit about what those last moments felt like with her and you had the opportunity to be there with you and you even were with her by yourself. So if the level of your comfortability, of course.
Yeah. So that can be really hard to talk about. But I think the one beautiful thing about cancer or someone having a prognosis that they will be dying is that you get to be there with them when they die. My experience with my mom dying is something I hold very, very close to my heart. Most people don't get to hold their mom's hand as they cross over. I got to be there with my mom while she took her last breath. I got to hold her while she took her last breath. And that really means so much to me. It was really, really hard. When I don't think any of us were prepared for my mom to die in July. Like I think me and my family, we knew it would be soon. I definitely was thinking, okay, maybe we got one more Christmas. We're gonna make it to Christmas. We're fine. But that week, she was so weak. She was so fragile. She was so small. She was so sick. And it was July 15th. I was in the house. We were all, me, my boyfriend, my dad, we were all in the house. And my mom had passed out upstairs. It was really random. My dad went upstairs and she was just laying there. And he was so scared. And he was like, we have to go to Johns Hopkins right now. And, in that moment, I didn't even really think anything of it. Like, I remember walking to the car and I was like, okay, well, see you guys later. Love you, Mom. Because it was so a part of our routine at this point, just going to the mom getting sick, you're going to go to the hospital. But she got to the hospital that day and she had sent me a text that night. She was like, I'm sure you know by now I'm going to be in the hospital for a while. They admitted me. But, I love you so much and we'll talk tomorrow. And she kind of sent that message to me, my dad, like, the people she cared about most, like, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. So the next day came and it was like 11 a.m., 12 a.m. and nobody had heard from my mom. And it's like, where's Erica? And my dad's calling her. She's not answering. It's like, what's happening? And he finally called the hospital and called the nurses in the oncology unit. It's like, hey, like, where's my wife? She said she was going to reach out to us this morning. And they were, like, yeah, she's really incoherent right now. She's really, really out of it. She's kind of confused on where she is. She's just not really doing too good. You guys should come up here. I think for my dad, that's when he kind of knew, okay, this is going to be different. This is going to be different. And I remember him telling me, we need to go see your mom. Because at first I was planning, I'll go see her in a couple days. Again, she had been going to the hospital so much that it was like, yeah, I mean, she'll probably stay for a few days. I'll come see her when I can. I think I had plans to like go to lunch or something with a friend. And my dad was like, no, we need to go see your mom. You want to come see your mom. And that was really scary. I'm like, okay, this is weird. And I remember my godmom calling me and she was just kept it real with me. She was like, hey, your dad called me and I want you to know you need to be prepared. She was like, this is it. She was like, this is going to be one of the last times you see your mom. So prepare yourself. It's going to be hard, but I can't. She was like, she didn't want me going in there blind, It was like, just be prepared. So I remember going up to the hospital and finally getting to see my mom. And I was just so happy to see her. And she was very incoherent. She was in and out. Like, it's really funny. Like, looking back at it now, it's like we would be talking to her and then she would just like zone out and have no idea what's happening. She'd be like, what are you guys doing here? Where are we at? And it's like, girl, like, you are not here with us right now. And then I remember by the end of the night, she kind of stopped talking. She was just sitting there. And then we came back the next day. And, we were talking to the doctors and they were trying to give us options, like just let us know what's going on. And, it just didn't look good. Like they were saying, we can try this and do this surgery, but if we do it, I can't tell you what her quality of life is going to be afterwards. I don't know if her body can handle this anymore. I don't know, but we can try. And that was a hard decision for us. It's like, should we try? Should we not? Like, should we give up or anything? But my dad didn't want to at all. My dad, like, he originally wanted to go full throttle. But, I think after a while being there with my mom, it was like, Dad, we can't do that. For the past couple of weeks, we had seen how unhappy she was getting, even though like she still put her best foot forward. She was not happy with living anymore. She couldn't work anymore. My mom loved her job. She wasn't working. She wasn't eating. My mom didn't eat for like weeks. She could barely walk. She wasn't happy. And it's like, why would we put her through so much more to potentially be worse than where she was at? It's like, why would we do that to her? It's like, she at that point was far past what her prognosis had said. People with stage 4 colon cancer usually only live for 2 to 3 more years after their diagnosis. My mom lived 5 years. It was like, who are we to keep pushing? It's like she's pushed to her full extent. And so we told the doctors, we don't want to do anything extreme. So they were like, we can keep her on the vents and everything for now. And, call your family, get everybody that you can get in, tell them to come. So that was the next step. So it was now the 17th of July and we're rounding people up. Like my brother had to fly in from Washington State overnight to get there to see my mom. And her best friends took a train from New York to come see her. Like it was like, this is now or never type of thing. Yeah. So that day we had maybe like 15, 20 people in and out the hospital all morning, all night. And we had decided, we need to take her off the vents and everything. And my brother had missed his flight, his original
He
flight,
sure did.
as my brother does. So we were just so concerned that he wasn't going to get there on time. We're like, we wanted him to be there. And my mom that whole day had like really not been speaking much, really in and out of it. And my brother had finally got to the hospital, and he walked into the room, and like all of us were standing around her. And when my brother came in and stood next to her, she looked at him, she said,
Yes, her eyes literally
her
lit up.
eyes literally lit up. And it was so funny, but so warming, you know. It's just like she had been waiting for her son. She was waiting that whole day for him. And that day, like after he was there, you know, we all sat around her. We played her favorite music. We got to go around a circle and say everything we loved about her. Um, and you know, people don't get to do that. And I'm
Yeah.
so grateful that we were able to do that, you know. It like people were telling us that the whole night. The nurses in the unit, they're just like, I've never seen anything like this before. You know,
Yeah.
this is amazing that you guys are doing this. And it's like, even though my mom wasn't speaking, I know she heard us. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so after that, you know, people stayed in the room for another hour or two. We all talked with her and everything. Slowly, we let people leave. And then, you know, it was around 10 o'clock. You know, they were like, okay, we're unplugging everything. We're going to let things, you know, pace its own course. So me and my dad are just in the room. And they had monitors outside at the nurse's station to watch her and everything. It was about 11:50ish, you know, when the nurses came in and they're like, hey guys, you know, we're starting to see those vital signs drop and everything. So, you know, just go over, hug her, kiss her and everything. And my mom passed at 12:05 in the morning the next day on July 17th. And you know, again, it's something special to be able to sit there with your mom as she crosses over and be there with your dad while he loses his wife. And for me, it was special. When I was born, in the house. I was born really, really fast, and it was just me and my mom and my dad in this house together. And it was very full circle for me. For when my mom passed, it got to be us three again. And that's something I hold really, really close to my heart. You know, again, people don't get to do that. And John Hopkins, I just love the oncology unit so much and how much passion and care they had for my mom in those last few days. I remember like after she passed, the nurses came in and her doctors came in, and you know, they sat there and they cried with me. You know, they were just like, you know, I am so sorry. You know, it's just, and that meant so much to me to see that the people that were taking care of her cared so much about our feelings too. And yeah, then after that we went back home, and it was something. But it's an experience. Like, of course, I wish I didn't have to have it so young, but I feel like it has shaped me so much.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah. You talked about grieving before your mom passed. And I just want to say, like, just from a bird's eye view, just being your cousin and that, and like being here with you, like, the amount of like grace and strength, it was like a complete 180.
Yeah.
And there's like no right way to grieve, right? Like, you're young, you know, but I could see the weight that it had on you. And like you said that you didn't know that it was your mom. I knew it was your mom, you know, that was like whole, like weighing on you. But like when your mom passed, it was like a complete switch. And so,
Yeah.
can you just talk a little bit about like the comfort that you felt, and then also how you completely, when I say you completely changed your life around?
Yeah. So literally, like Tay said, I mean, like the second my mom passed, it was an immense weight lifted off my shoulder. I mean, it like the second, because obviously, like no one wants their mom to die, and no one wants something to be over, but it was really, really hard. And to finally know my mom wasn't in pain anymore, and she, you know, was resting, that was a big weight off of my shoulders. And to know, you know, I don't have to think about my mom dying anymore. She's dead. For me, was a comfort, which I know again, it sounds a little crazy, but that was just my experience with grief. And I felt like for the whole funeral planning, we had 2 weeks it was like 2 3 weeks to plan the funeral and get everything together. I took so much initiative, in that, which I feel like most people didn't expect that from me. And most people were very concerned
I was,
for me, you know, like this is going to be too much. This is a lot. But it's like, no, this is what I meant to do. Like, this is the last thing that I can do for her is help send her off in the best way possible. And I just got so much strength from her. You know, the second she passed, it's like, okay, I just have to keep pushing forward like she did. Because life does not stop when you lose someone, sadly. Even though you want it to, even though you wish it could, it just doesn't. You know, it just keeps going. I was in the middle of a summer class when my mom died. I'm a pre-med student. I'm trying to take my biology 102 class so I can graduate on time. And I'm in the middle of this class and it's like, wow, what am I going to do? Do I stop this class? Do I retake it later? And it's like, I really wanted to, but I'm like, my mom wouldn't have wanted me to do that. My mom kept pushing every day. So why can't I push right now? So I finished that summer class because I don't have time to not, you know, my time isn't stopping anytime soon. So I need to keep pushing. And after she passed, I've lost 80 pounds. I've completely gotten myself out of that depressive slump. I was sitting in my house and eating myself to death. And I'm like, okay, I want to make myself healthier. I want to be a better person. I want to be able to live as long as I can. So I took that initiative. I put my mind back into school and I got myself my first internship and went abroad to Kenya by myself. I got a 4.0 this semester and a 3.8 last semester, period. For the first time all of college, I've been social. I've made friends. I've hung out with people. I've just done everything that I think grief stopped me from doing before. Again, I didn't know that's what was stopping me. But I think with my mom passing, I've found a purpose in life. I would say that's what I say a lot. It's like my mom is my purpose. My mom is my driving force now. You know, I didn't have that before. I didn't have something to keep me going. I had nothing, but now it's in a way I have everything. And it brought me closer to my community because when I was going through grief, I distanced myself from all my friends. But again, no one knew what I was going through. You know, it was just like, oh, Cam just don't want to talk. Cam don't be around. I don't know what's going on with Cam. But when my mom died, my community stepped up so much for me. I mean, my friends and my family like have been my rock. They, even to this day, my friends are still checking on me every single day. Yesterday was my first Mother's Day without my mom. And my friend came by with a really nice bouquet of flowers for me just because she knew it was my first Mother's Day. And that's the things that are keeping me going, you know? And I think that that's something that you have to look forward to in grief. Obviously, we don't look forward to grief, but it's something that we all are going to experience in one way or another. But the community you get in grief is something I cherish more than anything, you know, and it's not going to go away. And, you know, you just have to keep going. Yeah,
you do. And we're almost at time, but I want to end with this. Your mom's favorite quote was, oh God, let me pair. It's like life is not about
life is.
It's right there,
here.
guys. We're in her house.
1 second.
Life is not about waiting for the storm to pass, but learning how to dance in the rain. How are you dancing in the rain right now?
I think I'm dancing in the rain by, again, continuing my life. I mean, I think, you know, life is just, it's always ups and downs. There's always going to be a storm. There's always going to be adversity, but that's when you have to be resilient. That's when you have to just keep going, you know. Again, life is never going to stop. And all I can do is keep pushing myself to be the best person I can be. My mom was the best person I've ever known in my life. And this is like, I know everybody says that about my mom, but my mom was literally the best person in the world.
She was amazing.
And if I can be half the woman that she was, then life is good, honestly.
Yeah.
And I think I'm doing a really good job of that so far. I think she would be very proud of the woman that I'm becoming. And again, that's enough to keep me dancing, you know. That's all I need in life is to know that I'm making her proud every day. Seriously.
Yeah. And I am like, I mean, I tell you this all the time, but I am so proud of you, not only as your older cousin, but just someone who has seen you walk through so many phases of life so far, and the things that you've had to experience at this age and to see where you are now is absolutely amazing. Like, I remember when your mom, going back to that text message, and she told me about it, and she was like, I need you to watch over Kamryn. I need you to like make sure she's fine. And I was like, that is like, I'm going to do that for her. And that is still my commitment, is to make sure you, Corey, Kyle will always be okay. And so I just, even a couple weeks like prior to, like, thanking her just for being like that second mom to me, thanking her for just being that support system out here. And so I am just incredibly proud of you. And I'm just so glad that you were able to be on the podcast and share your story in a really meaningful way.
Thank you. I'm really glad you could have me. And I'm glad I could have an open conversation about grief. I don't think grief is talked about enough.
No.
And again, it's something we all experience. And I think avoiding the topic of talking about it is what makes grief so hard. You know, it comes and it's going to slap you in the face. But if we keep having open conversations, if we let people cry on your shoulders, if you are opening to listen to people, you should do that. If you know someone who is grieving, you're going through something, losing a mom, a parent, a pet, it doesn't matter, losing a job, losing the life they thought they were going to have, talk to them about it, ask them about them. If you had a friend whose parent died when they were 5 years old, go and ask them about their mom or dad today. You know, because all we want to do is talk about our loved ones. You know, grief is just love that has nowhere to go. And, you know, we just want to keep talking about that love. We don't want that love to die.
Yeah, we will talk about the Honorable Judge Pearson, the wine connoisseur,
the woman, the myth, the mother, the legend,
the world traveler forever. And so, yeah, just thank you so much, Cam, for being on this show. And as always, we are uncovering who we are one step at a time, and we're unfolding at our own pace, and we're exactly where we need to be. Take care, everyone.